about America and democracy. There is no America. There is no democracy. We no longer live in a world of nations and ideologies. The world is a college of corporations, inexorably determined by the immutable bylaws of business. The world is a business. And I have chosen you to preach this evangel.
For all my free market healthcare robbing, stock stealing, retirement fund fucking with niggas. Fuck you little credit card scamming, jewelry stealing, crack selling, liquor store robbing motherfuckers. Shout to the homies, Carnegie, OG, Willie Randolph Hearst, Baruch, Rockefeller, the real Rockefeller, my main bitch Leona, bought a little Louis XIII, Scott Rothstein, Jack Abramoff, hold your head, my Rothschild niggas, let's get this money. I spend my day pimping America overseas, pension for the workers, nigga please, embezzlement, etiquette, private settlement, I'm better with Confederate rhetoric from my mansion in Connecticut, foreclosing the clothes at the tenement, I twist words like a speech impediment, I hope you got good credit bitch, if not better get a new job with benefits, while I play golf with niggas to get cheddar with, new money buys brand new carrots, my old money bunch of great grandparents, you got grills in your mouth, I ain't mad at ya, I own every gold mine in South Africa, thanks baby, you made me a billion, plus I own a building, for each one of my children's children.
Sorry about the technical difficulties. This is Voice of Rebellion Radio. We are live. This is your host, Chris J. It is Sunday, 9 Eastern Time here, St. Pete, 6 out there in the Pacific. And this is a big show. We had these same type of guests from the same incident were on the show back in June, and I think only one of the people, maybe two, I think were on shortly. Two of the USS Liberty survivors that will be on tonight, I think were on the show back in June, and we have a new one, Ernie Gallo, wasn't on the show back in June. We have Ernie Gallo, Phil Torney, and Ron Kukal, all survivors of USS Liberty tonight. We are just waiting on my on the producer to launch the call that actually can be able to host calls on the line, and then we'll be having the guest on here in a minute. So I apologize to the USS Liberty survivors if they're trying to call in at this moment, and they can't. We will be able to within a minute or probably about 5 minutes to be able to get into the show. For now, just a little background for people who don't know what the USS Liberty incident was. It was on June 8th, 1967, between Israel and Egypt. There was a vessel, USS Liberty, belonging to the U.S. Navy. At that time, Israel was in the process of launching the 67 Arab-Israeli War. Where Israel invaded Egypt. I don't know why everybody says that, that Arabs, mostly Egypt, was the main belligerent against Israel in the conflict. Why they would say that Egypt started the war. It was Israel that actually made the invasion into Egypt. And then they did many war crimes during the bombing of Egypt. They bombed hospitals. They bombed very populated residential areas. It was a full-out campaign against Egypt. At that time, non-aligned movement heavyweight Gamal Abdel Nasser was the president of Egypt at the time, he was closely allied with Joseph Tito. He was a socialist that was extremely anti-Zionist. He was very pro-Palestinian. At that time, Egypt controlled Gaza. He pretty much was the mentor for Muammar Gaddafi, but Muammar Gaddafi kind of came up under him, which they would only lapse their time as a rule for about 1 year. Muammar Gaddafi would take charge in 1969 after a bloodless coup, and then after that, it was Nasser. He died in what a lot of people consider a suspicious circumstance in 1970 at the right after the Arab Summit. Hours after, he had a heart attack. He was only 53 years old, and after that, Egypt started to fall into the hands of Western imperialism and fall into the hands of Britain and the United States, because the weak Arafat would take over, rolling back most of Nasser's plans that had changed Egyptian lives forever. Many of the programs that had brought a lot of the poverty, brought a lot of the poor out of poverty, and had ended the Egyptian strong military that they had, making it much more weaker, much more easier for Egypt to be influenced by foreign countries. And Egypt in the 70s, really during 73, after the Yom Kippur War really started to sputter out, and then by 1980, the ultimate thing that really set it forward to become a United States satellite practically was when 81 Arafat gets assassinated, and then we see the rise of Hosni Mubarak, who would take charge for the next 30 years. He was the vice president of Arafat, so he had been in the presidential scene for a long time. But just a little background of Egypt at the time. But what actually happened is that the USS Liberty was attacked by Israel in the waters of right there, and 34, I think, USS Liberty sailors were killed, and 170 plus were injured. The Israelis' official claim, and what LBJ accepted as an official claim, and the United States government accepted as an official claim, is that the official story was that Israel said that they believed that was an Egyptian vessel that was hostile to Israel, even though there was clearly marked, as we went over in June with these USS Liberty survivors, that was clearly marked as an American vessel. There's no way that American markings and Egyptian markings can be confused. The ship, the ship was attacked. And then a lot of the sailors fell into the water. They were strafed by machine guns on Israeli helicopters that strafed back and forth, and that killed a few of them, I think, right there in the waters. There was a torpedo hit, I think. It was a full-out attack. There were Israeli boats attacking it, and afterwards, the United States, instead of doing what you'd think would be the appropriate move after a foreign country attacks one of your Navy vessels like that, you would put sanctions against the country. There would be a fallout of diplomatic relations. However, no. In fact, LBJ said that he doesn't care how many. He doesn't care if that boat goes to the bottom of the ocean and all those sailors die. That he didn't want to embarrass Israel. And there was plans back in D.C. to even use a nuclear weapon against Cairo and to declare all-out war against Egypt. Because the Israelis at first were saying that the Egyptians, I believe they have said that the Egyptians had done the attack, and that was probably the plan all along. It was to say they were going to continue until it got foiled. They were going to say that the Egyptians had attacked the American vessel, was not the Israelis, and the Egyptians had attacked it, and that means that the Egyptians had declared war on the United States pretty much, and so the United States would get involved in the Arab-Israeli war. The United States did not go ahead with those plans. It almost reached to that point. So it's almost what you could say is that it was potentially an Israeli intelligence move. It was an attempted false flag that was attempted by the Israelis, is what a lot of people say. And, there's some of the truth and what is not true gets clouded with that event. But these sailors that actually survived attack, these sailors that actually survived attack probably have the best insight to what actually happened. Well, I do apologize to the sailors. I'm checking on. My producer says that there's a bit of a problem with Skype right now, so we can't launch a call. Seemed like this happened last time, where we had a lot of technical difficulties on the show with the USS Liberty, and there was a. It ended up all right. I mean, I figured that if we have just an hour with them, that's plenty of time. Now, might be just pausing the show here in a second and going to check on what is going on with Vincent. So I'll be back here in a second. I'm just going to put this Skype call on hold and try to get this situation dealt with and try to get to actually having the USS Liberty survivors on the air. Well, yeah, we just had a complete freeze up and everything back was the actual producing area of the show. So looks like what we're gonna do is we're gonna have a pause here. Sorry for the break that we're gonna be doing, but it looks like we're gonna be off for about 5, maybe 10 minutes. Maybe we might have to actually do a complete postponement till 9:30. So we apologize in advance, all the UCY listeners and Voice of Rebellion listeners. This was not in the plans, but technology sometimes fails us. Believe me, it wasn't a lot. It wasn't a poor planning. This is completely poor technology on us. Since the Israelis, the Mossad have sabotaged our show, it looks like for the next 5 to 10 minutes. But we'll be back. So everybody, hang tight, and we're gonna try to make it back by 9. Definitely by 9:25. No promises.
Okay, if I think I'm actually got it. Oh wow. So, all right. I think I'm broadcasting. So, but this is not Patty. Oh my word. Okay, do I have anybody on here? Good night. I am not sure what in the world has happened to this. Okay, now I've got to go back over here and open this up. So, Chris, let me try to add you here now. If you have hung up, sure enough, now I might be able to add you and add your callers as well. First of all, let me add you here to this call group. Wow, what a fiasco. That's the deal. That's what happens. Do I have you, Chris? I am not sure. All right, so I'm broadcasting through. Let me go over here and hang up the player. Okay, now. Wow. Can I say wow? Wow. So Chris is supposed to be added. He needed me to add his calls, and so this is quite a fiasco. Now, let me try to add you back and then get your callers. I don't know what the deal is here with you. Chris, I don't know what's happened to you. I finally you got the network and you've fallen off. So here's one of your callers. And okay. I give up. All right. You're going to have to do it, however, because things are not working here. Oh, is that Chris there now?
Hey, we're back online. Yeah, we're back on the air. That means finally, and that means we can finally start taking these callers.
Okay,
we're back.
Perhaps now that was quite a fiasco, man. That calling in right there blocked me out and had all these calls tangled up. And you asked me to do this so I could take your calls. So I think maybe if your callers can call back in now, I don't know because it's all weirded out. Let me try to add this because it gets all weird. Yeah, see, it's not giving me an option. It's got Chris, this thing is all screwed up, dude.
Yeah,
I can't even add these people now. I can't even add them.
Is it freezing up on you, or?
Well, it's all. It's. I don't know. It's. Man, Jules is in chat. You guys, I don't know.
No. Well, I was thinking
it's screwed up. By you calling in and me trying to add this call there, it blocked everything up, and it's got some humongous call log right here just piled up, and I can't add nobody to this call now.
Well, I mean, okay, let's see. Saying that, sorry everybody, but it looks like that maybe we'll have to restart here, complete restart, and you know what? It might be just better than start at even time. Let's postpone the show to 9:30. How about that? And then we'll just have an hour and a half after that.
There's nothing I can do about it. I can try to do a restart and do it. See, man, you I don't know. When you called into the show, you were supposed to let me add you, and then so it was all blocked, man. And there's people trying to call in right now, and I can't add them.
Well, so I'm saying that we could just sorry callers, we'll try to restart and see what happens then.
All right, I'll try to restart my computer, but Jules, it looks like she's pretty pissed off about this whole deal. So that's all I can do. But dude, you can't call into the network if I'm supposed to call it in and add the callers. It blocked all this, and then now I've got this jumbled mess, and I don't know how to unjumble it. So all I can do is hang up and try to restart my computer.
Would I be able to still air during that time so I could give a little bit more of a backstory of what we talked about with U.S. Liberty? Or
yeah, go ahead, but I can't call the network while you're on. So if you want me to host your calls, unless you can ask Jules, she can do something else.
Well,
All right.
you can just message me when you get back. Restart the
Okay,
computer and
I'll
get
do that.
typing back.
All right, peace.
And we're back on the air. To give a little bit more backstory, what we're talking about. The USS Liberty attack. It was one of those. It showed our special relationship with Israel, where they can attack us and be very intentional, and then lie about it, and then our government will make an excuse to cover Israel's ass on the issue, like what happened with USS Liberty, and before that, the Lavon affair, where the Israelis activated a terror cell inside of Egypt because they felt Dwight Eisenhower was getting too cozy with, again, Nasser, which I feel Nasser was one of the biggest Arab enemies that Israel deemed a threat, because he was actually powerful. He actually had made a strong Egypt, was a strong military complex. They had strong relations with many people around the world and other powerful nations. They really had solidified a powerful North African country that actually was an anti-Zionist powerhouse, and it was free of the international bankers. Like Gaddafi would become later, Nasser was like the original Gaddafi. Nasser took power in the 50s, and that's why he went through the Eisenhower administration, through Kennedy administration, went through the LBJ administration, and ultimately his time in the presidency ended during the Nixon administration. The USS Liberty attack is one thing that hasn't really came to the attention of the mainstream until recently. It was for years, it was really taboo to talk about it, especially right after these people, they really were almost kept to silence, a lot of the survivors. And some of these survivors, they never recovered after the attack. In fact, some were injured. I think some to this day are still injured and never recovered. They were permanently disabled after the USS Liberty attack. I think over half the ship was actually injured one way or another. It was a pretty brutal attack. The boat actually didn't actually go down. USS Liberty attack also, it's gotten more attention. Finally, it seems like the Navy's finally acknowledging that even happened. For many years today, didn't even acknowledge it happened. Now they're starting to treat them as if they were survivors of any other attack by a quote-unquote hostile country. But it just proves that Israel and the American people do not have a good relationship like what people think. Israel's relationship with the United States is purely a parasitic one. And while U.S. and the United States government's duplicity in the and what's causing, what is causing America to fall apart, what is causing most of this country a lot of problems is that the Zionists and the United States government elites hoarding most of the wealth. The Zionists continue to have, get all this United States taxpayer money because they have the strongest lobby in the United States. And then when you start talking about it, they have the Jewish human shield, which is anti-Semitism. They'll say that, oh, you're anti-Semitic, this, anti-Semitic, that, Netanyahu even said that any enemies to Israel or not to Jews, he will deem anti-Semitic. I mean, Netanyahu's lunacy went as far as to blame the Palestinian for the Holocaust, when he said that it wasn't even Hitler's idea to kill the Jews. It was a Palestinian cleric or something like that he blamed for the Holocaust. They said it was his idea to kill the Jews, which is absolute absurdity. Netanyahu is, now the prime minister of Israel. I don't know who it was at the time, 1967. Went through a few, but it's all the same disease. Zionism to the Middle East, to the Palestinian people, where they've killed millions since 1948. They killed or misplaced about 1 million just in 48 alone. that's how they got the land, is that they did it. And now it's called Al-Nakba, which means the tragedy, is what the Palestinians call that day when the Israelis showed up from Europe. And that's the funny thing, is that they say anti-Semitism. They're the anti-Semitic government because the Palestinians are the Semitic people. Most Israelis are Ashkenazi Jews, which are from Europe. They're Khazarians, which was an empire. They're more closely related to Polish, and they are related to people from that region, to the Middle East. Netanyahu's father, I think, was from Hungary, or one of these European countries. I mean, these people do not belong, in that region. There's a few indicators of the Israelis, not the Jewish people. Well, because, there's Jews that are Arabs, but most of the Israelis are not Arabs. They're mostly Ashkenazis. And we got confirmation. My producer's back. Looks like we're going to be able to start just early at 9:30, and we'll be having the callers come in. So I'm going to hang up here, and hopefully this will be the last pause. Hang tight.
Okay, I'm going to add Chris. Okay, dialing Chris. There you are.
Yeah.
All right, so if you can contact your callers and let them know they can call in now, okay?
Okay, yeah. Well, if they're listening right now, definitely call in. I'm going to get on Facebook here. Hopefully it doesn't drop off my Skype, because like when I leave the Skype app, it drops off. But sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. If that happens, if any take over for me at that time, I'll just be getting on. Really hoping the one guy wasn't freaking out about that. I mean, sorry for technical difficulties. I know it was almost a half hour before we finally could get on the air. We will be interviewing USS Liberty people for probably an hour and a half here, but that was almost like what happened first time. I mean, it was actually worse, I think, because it was like we could solidly stay on the air last time, and but then we had a great interview after that. All right, now I'm messaging one of them. Hopefully, he gets the message quickly, and then he calls in the other guys. I don't know. It seems like when we did a show, USS Liberty survivors before, we had all kinds of technical difficulties. It seems like it's sabotage. I don't know. That seems because I never have I don't think I've had worse technical difficulties on this network than those two times. This is the second worst, and that first show was the worst. So, right now I'm messaging them.
All right, so you're able to get over. If you fall off, I'll look to add you back. Yeah, but the technical difficulty was that you called in the network and blocked me out, and I created all these because the numbers were ringing to me. So then I got all these call groups. So
Yeah, it was
Usually it's not.
definitely.
Usually it's not a problem though. I mean, that's
Yeah, yeah, it
that
blocks it
is,
out. But
it,
look, hey, go send your messages and get tell them we're good to add them back into the call now. It looks like.
yeah. I'm right now sending a message actually. Uh, Anyways, it should be less than 5 minutes. It'll be hopefully also three of them here. There'll be three of them tonight. We had like six last time I know. Where we had
Hey, Chris,
two of the same one.
this is
Yeah.
exactly 30 minutes past the hour. So why don't you just start from the top right now? We'll wait for your guests to call in. We'll add them in, and just if you want to clip this off somewhere down the line, then you've got it started right here.
Yeah, you know what? Since we have the
Okay, and there went Chris. So he'll probably be back here in a minute. That might be him now. Nope. This is great. So I guess he fell off over there in Facebook land. Hey, I'll just say hi to everybody in chat. I've been kind of dropped out in the cold here, down south, tucked away, keeping my feet warm, chopping some wood.
Here
Hey,
we go.
okay, looks like Chris may be back. Hi, Chris.
Well, if you're just tuning in right now, we are pretty much doing a reboot. Welcome to Boys Rebellion Radio, UC by Radio. This is a condensed 1 hour and a half show here Sunday night. Hopefully, people actually didn't completely leave, or hopefully stayed on the air to listen, because right now probably the actual show will get rock and roll in here. Most of the country's pretty cold right now, so it's not like the people just hopped up and left and went outside. You're pretty much stuck listening to our show, so enjoy the next hour and a half. Talk about the USS Liberty, which was an attack on a ship belonging to the U.S. Navy back on June 8th, 1967, in the war between Israel and Egypt. The vessel was a really official story. Afterwards, finally, there was two official stories. The second one was that Israel believed it to be an Egyptian ship. They attacked it because they believed it to be hostile.
Okay, caller, future player. Chris, we have your first caller added in. If you'll mute your radio and introduce yourself so Chris knows who he has on here with him, please.
Chris, this is Ron Kuko. You're really breaking up bad here. It's just absolutely terrible. I can barely understand you. I'm one of the USS Liberty survivors. Are you hearing me all right?
We hear you very well, caller.
Bad. It's starting to break up. I got a good Wi-Fi connection, so it's not my part going. I don't know. It's probably something else going on. I was just pretty much introducing, talk about what was happening, or what, a little backstory for the people that have no familiarity with what is the USS Liberty incident. So I'm just gonna keep airing and see if it's still breaking up on me. By the way,
everything you are breaking up on me a bunch here. Hardly can understand you.
No, I'm gonna try one thing. I think I know what could be causing it. By the way, where's Ernie and Phil? Are they on their way?
They've not called in yet. So first caller, would you tell your name again, please? You said Ernie.
It's Ron.
Oh, Ron.
No, this is Ron. That's Ron right there.
Hello,
I know there's.
Sir. So he's having a hard time understanding you there, Chris.
He dropped. He's completely dropped off. I don't know what the problem is, because I'm getting good connection on my part. So I guess it could be the bandwidth problem, or whatever. Which, but it seems like I don't know, it seemed to be a problem on his end. I mean, there was the radio playing in the background. I mean, there's one thing I could do to try to make my output a little bit more clear.
You're sounding good now. You was breaking.
I don't know.
Go ahead and continue on with your show, and I'll add your callers back in as they call back.
Well, I'm just gonna go to the settings here and try to. I know there's one thing I can do that could help the clarity of the show. Hey, Vince, are you still there? I lost you there. It says it was
Yeah, I'm here. I just met it. Here comes one of your callers. Adding them back now.
I heard a buzzing noise and it stopped. And
yeah, I put my.
Is this
on. Here's your caller back. Well,
hey,
hello.
Is this Ron or Phil or who is this?
Yeah, this is Phil turning out in Colorado. I guess you guys had a hard time getting everything going, but is it all ready to go now or not?
Yeah, we got clear signal now. We got steady connection. You're coming pretty good. So, can you hear me good? Because Ron was just on here 2 minutes ago, and he was saying he was having trouble hearing me. But
well, I can hear you fine. So, I guess we're good to go. Whatever you want to do. What do you want to get started with?
Well, I know you actually wrote the book What I Saw That Day, which I just want to hear, a little bit about. How far has that book spread around? Do you think that it's a little bit of impact, bringing awareness to this almost taboo subject? It doesn't seem like a lot of Americans know this incident, this attack on a U.S. Navy ship. They could tell you about one that it's questionable if it even happened in the Gulf of Tonkin. Actually, it didn't happen, but they won't tell you about one that did happen and killed U.S. sailors, USS Liberty. But do you think that your book has been able to spread awareness about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, I got a lot of counseling from my great friend and shipmate, and friends forever, Ron Kukul, and he did, of course, the prayer in that book, and I have a new book coming out in the next couple of weeks. But I'm here for the reason of getting out the story of the true story of the USS Liberty. And again, make sure I got your name correct. It's Chris, right?
Yep.
Okay,
and
Chris, go ahead.
I just want, and I know there's two. You're talking about how there's the two stories of the USS Liberty. There's the media story. Well, wasn't even really put on the media, but the pretty much what was the Israeli story that they were able to concoct up, and then the United States accepted out of just being out of cowardly action that LBJ took. When I saw what LBJ had to say that day, that he didn't care that every sailor drowned and the boat into the bottom of the ocean. He doesn't want to embarrass Israel. That's his main priority. That definitely proved, it definitely proves what has been for the last 50 years the United States' special relationship with Israel. And then there's the real story, which is much more different. It goes into more of the intelligence aspect of why they might have done an intentional attack. Just run that through me, because I was talking about earlier how it was very hard for the Israelis to actually have made a legitimate mistake in believing that was an Egyptian ship. Just, there were a few indicators that made it very obvious, right, that it was a United States ship. There's really no reason they should have been able to, or they could have made a mistake.
Well, you broke it down fairly accurate, but let's start from the very beginning. The USS Liberty was one of the most sophisticated intelligence gathering ships in the world, and even at this time, 40 plus half years later, it could probably still hold its own with intelligence gathering. As dear friend Ron Kukul, he was a communications technician aboard the ship, and course, he's not going to talk about anything in secret, but there's something secret about the fact that Israel got by with cold-blooded, premeditated murder on the high seas by the Zionist state of Israel when we were in international waters doing exactly what our government told us to do. And the real disheartening and the real story of it is that our government set the USS Liberty up to be attacked by the Zionist state of Israel, by LBJ and his good buddy McNamara, and let's not forget John McCain's father. He was the Supreme Commander of the United States Forces Europe, who had direct control over our operations and where we went in the Middle East, as he did USS Saratoga, USS America in the Sixth Fleet fighting fleet, which were, by the way, only minutes away from us, and they could have come help us and saved many Americans. But I do want to make everybody aware of this, that, listen, we're all getting older. The crew members of the USS Liberty are not out here to do anything else but tell the truth. And the truth is that our government gave us up to be slaughtered by the Zionist of Israel and blamed on Egypt, and Egypt would have been incinerated by nuclear weapons that were in the air. I don't care if they're Navy or Air Force; they were there to take us down. But fortunately, with Jesus Christ's help and his guidance and the crew of the USS Liberty, our ship stayed afloat. And with our ship staying afloat, we more than likely kept us out of World War III with Russia. So the whole thing was a cluster, if you know what I mean, and they're just waiting for us all to die out. Again, you know what, Chris, Ron, and myself, and many others that joined the military took a solemn oath, took a very solemn oath to protect this government from all enemies, foreign and domestic. And just because we're out of the military now, does not relieve us of that obligation. And Ron Kukul and many others like us in the association have been trying for years to get the truth out. Because no one should be allowed to get by with cold-blooded, premeditated murder on the high seas of American servicemen, Marines, sailors, and civilians doing exactly what our government told us to do in international waters, and then to be forsaken by our government. A stab in the back, I can't explain that. That isn't even close to a stab in the back. It's like a million swords that they did us, and they're still doing it because they're covering up the Zionist state of Israel. And every president, every congressman, every senator since LBJ falls in line with the lies that it was mistaken identity. Chris, we were identified as USS Liberty many hours before the attack started. We were put in Chase fighting book, and they admitted it and said we knew we were in the area and everything was cool. But when they changed the watch, they forgot we were there and said we were enemy combatant ship, possibly a destroyer doing 37 knots, when the fastest World War II victory ship would go is 18 knots tops, which makes no frickin' difference because we had no defenses. Everybody knew we were there. Everybody knew we were a spy ship. And the Zionist state of Israel got by with cold-blooded murder, and our government is still supporting these guys that are getting $11 million a day from your tax money and my tax money to support them. Now, does anybody on this listening audience feel that that's not right? And I do want to add for sure, Chris, when the United States of America was attacked, now this is just a citizen. This is not our politicians. Our politicians did it all. The citizens of America were under attack just as we were. It was an act of war on the United States of America. It's still an act of war. And we filed a war crimes report that Ron Kukl knows very much about, as well as many other people. So what we are is a bunch of men that were left behind. They say they never leave men behind. BS. They left 294 souls behind to be murdered by the Zionist state of Israel and supported by the United States government. So I guess what you could say is put that in your hat, stroke it.
Well, Phil, what happened there is not an isolated incident. It was probably the big incident that Israel has done to American servicemen or the American citizens in history. In recent, the Zionist state of Israel has just been, to the Palestinian people, to American, there was the Laban affair where many soldiers in Egypt died on the Israelis' watch at that time in the 50s because they thought Eisenhower was getting too cozy with Nasser, and they wanted. And I think the Israel goal with the Youth of Liberty Act, part of it was they wanted to eliminate Nasser. They felt him as a bit too big of a threat to their monopoly on the Middle East that they wanted. Israel has always been a power-hungry criminal since the very beginning. They got in with the land grab, and they continued to do land grabs. That year they took a big land grab of the Palestinians. And what they did to you guys on that ship was absolutely horrible, and what LBJ's implicit in it was appalling. The way you really told us, it really makes it seem, it's obvious that was an intentional attack, and the plan was probably at least the elimination of Egypt from the map, and then possibly War III, because the United States entering the Arab-Israeli war would definitely lead to at least a few other powers, may Yugoslavia, may Russia, join in some of Egypt's closest allies. What happened there was possibly not just the betrayal of sailors there, but possibly the betrayal of the world was about to happen, because that could have been absolutely catastrophic to the and possibly a World War III scenario after that. Yeah, it's a miracle that the ship didn't go down with all the stuff that had happened. And you said how many people were killed? Because I gave a number out.
Chris, there were 34 American souls murdered aboard that ship. 25 of them were communication technicians, where Ron Kukl worked. These were some of the most respected and honored and trusted men in the United States Navy. There were Marines slaughtered. There were sailors slaughtered, and there were also National Security Agency people slaughtered aboard that ship. Now, I'm not taking anything away from the men that were murdered that weren't in that group, the security group. We're all brothers in arms, and we take care of each other. But the main crux of this is that the cover-up is even worse than the attack. Now, please, the attack lives with me every day, and that's why I'm on this radio show right now to let everybody know, if you trust the Zionist state of Israel to take care of any American citizen or anybody for that matter around the world, you're fooling yourself, because all they care about is themselves, period. They want the one world order, the one world power. That's Israel. And thanks to our government, they're getting that with $11 billion per day. So bitter? You think I'm bitter? I think that's not even close to the word. It's not even close to the way I feel. It's not. How about the parents, children, grandchildren, the wounded, the killed, and the men that never had a chance in life? They never had one chance in life, and our government murdered them along with Israel. They slaughtered these men. You know, they had the torpedo boats shoot 5 friggin' torpedoes at us. One hit the starboard side where Ron Kook was at. How in the hell he survived, I have no idea. But he did. He tells a story. He tells God's story. He tells God's story how that ship was saved by Jesus Christ and the crew of the USS Liberty. And how we were told to never say a word about it. We would go to the penitentiary, or we would be put in harm's way. And harm's way is either death, and that's exactly what Admiral Isaac Kidd told me and others. Never say the word about this, or you will end up in prison or worse. You know what worse means. It means you're flat-ass dead. So I didn't say a word about the USS Liberty for almost 20 years until I read an article by Senior Chief or Master Chief Stan White. Then I became active in the USS Veterans Association. I became 3-time president, the only 3-time president of the USS Liberty Veterans Association. And I've got my own radio show. I've got my own book. And the radio show is not mine. It's the crew of the USS Liberty, and especially Ron Kukul and Kat Farron. This is our show that we do every week on RPN on Saturdays at 9 o'clock Standard Time. So, yeah, you want to talk about being betrayed? I'll tell you what, you can get it from the crew of the USS Liberty, and I am glad that you're spreading the word. There's so many things I could tell you about the machine gun of our life rafts. We only have 3 life rafts left. I cut one of them loose. They shot it out of the water, and they shot the other one out of the water. And they took one aboard the boat as a trophy of their kill of American sailors on the high seas, and they got it in a trophy room in Israel. And I understand that the other life raft they picked up were floating still in the top. And they have it somewhere in Israel, the kill of Americans on the high seas. So, these Zionist Christians that want to support the state of Israel for murdering American servicemen on the high seas, you can stay where the sun doesn't shine, because I love America. I do not love Israel, and certainly never will. And what has Israel done for America? What the hell has Israel done for America? Nothing.
They've done well for the American government and cronies, but they haven't done anything for the American people, and the American people is what America is. It's not the American government or the bank that now have corrupted the United States. You know, I hear you in that. It's that Israel now is really one of the main problems with the United States and our government right now. They have the biggest, most powerful lobby in the United States. And the reason why more and more troops are going to go die, more young men, 18, 19, to wars, is going to be partially because AIPAC pushed politicians, gave them big lumps of money in order to send more of them to the countries that Israel wants to take it out. Syria, Iran, those are coming up next. Afghanistan,
absolutely. Hey, Chris, I'm sure you remember the President of the United States George W. Bush that got in front of the radio cameras and went to the United Nations along with Colin Powell. I thought he was my favorite general. They all lied. Iraq had no weapons of mass destruction. All they wanted to do was invade and kill and destroy it. And that was all for the benefit of Israel. It wasn't for the benefit of the United States of America. How do the families feel that lost their loved ones in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in Syria, being slaughtered, being dismembered, and we support the Zionist state of Israel? Give me a break. They care. You think they care about you or your family? You think they care about anything? They care about Israel. Period. Period. And they lied. They lied to get us into those wars, and our country went for it. And finally, the truth is coming out. But you know what? Nothing's still going to happen about it. They'll get rat's ass. What happens to United States servicemen? The greatest men, the greatest fighting force in the world. They could give a rat's ass what happens to them. Go fighting Israel's wars.
Well, one of the problems is, like you said, it's not much is going to happen with it because they get their hands in every movement practically. When it comes to most of the mainstream political thoughts in the United States, it's pro-Israeli. So the people that pretend to be, liberal or whatever, they're all pro-Israeli. And all the people that, the conservative right, they're pro-Israeli. There's everybody is, they've got all the mainstream politicians pro-Israeli. There's like one I can think of that supports a two-state solution, which I support a one-state solution, which is a one Palestinian state in the end, because that's who the land belongs to. And Israel, which has done land grab after land grab, they wall those people in. They concentrate on a big population, the Gaza City, and then they bomb the shit out of them and kill thousands of children. It's not really what people need to realize is that people think that, oh, look, it's just Muslims that suffer the Israeli war crimes, which they should feel sympathy for them regardless. But no, Americans have felt it before, like the USS Liberty attack. They have felt it in the ways of being sent to wars in Iraq, Afghanistan, at the benefit of Israel. Well, Israel won't send their own men into there. They'll send them into situations that are very low risk, where they just massacre Palestinians. They're not even armed. And let's not forget, there's been other incidents where U.S. citizens have been killed by Israel. Remember Rachel Corrie back in 2003, where they mowed a young lady down, 20 years old, with a bulldozer right there in cold blood, and they've killed many other Westerners from different countries. They killed that British guy. They sniped him in the head, and he died shortly after. Actually, not shortly after. He suffered for months. They don't give a shit.
Chris, they're killing. They're killing on an average of 3 young children a day, shooting them in the head. The Israeli army, the IDF, and they get by with it and they laugh about it and they think it's great. They kill these little children out playing soccer or just being breathing air, and they kill them. And now, if they say there's only 3 getting killed, I would go up to 30. I would go up to 30 because they're all liars and snakes. And they betray everybody they've ever been around in the world. I'm talking about the Zionist state of Israel. They betrayed everybody, especially the United States. I do want to add just one thing before I'm making too much time up. But my friend Ron Kugel, he was in the torpedo space when the torpedo hit us, and by the grace of God, he laid his hand on my shipmate and told him to get down, or I wouldn't be on the phone right now with my shipmate. So that gives you the power of prayer. That gives you the power of belief. Now, Ron Kugel not only did that. Now there were 3 there were three groups of people aboard the USS Liberty. Ron can explain that. Well, I want to tell you something about my friend Ron. We got into Malta, went to Malta. Ron was the senior petty officer, and they ordered him to go into the torpedo spaces where 25 of his fellow mates were blown to pieces. And how many men do you know that, first of all, survived a torpedo attack, along with myself, and then you have this great hero going below decks to gather the parts and bodies of his friends, his fallen shipmates that he worked with every day. So I have great respect for Ron and all he's done in his life for the USS Liberty, including getting us on this radio show. And I'm going to leave it up to Ron to talk, because I'm taking up way too much time of your radio show. But it's my great blessing.
I got a private message from Ron. This wasn't really a great time for him to came up with Ron outside the radio. So maybe we'll have him on another time. Ernie Gallo should be calling in not too much time, and then you two will be on air. Ron
Kukla is with us, right?
Huh?
Ron Kukla is with us. Is that correct?
Yeah, he was with us for about, he had bad connection. He fell off for a second, but it was, he actually he had something going on outside of the radio at the same time. So we kind of just, my private messaged him, and he said, it's probably today wasn't the best day to have the show. It kind of came up unexpectedly because I scheduled this about a week ago, actually, the show. But Ernie should be calling in not too long. I have to ask, so you guys, so both of you survived the torpedo attack. How badly injured were you guys after the attack? I mean,
let me explain it this way, Chris. The USS Liberty was the most damaged ship in the annals of naval history in a single engagement, and the most wounded in a single engagement on the high seas. So that can tell you there were over 850 cannon and rocket holes in our ship. There were over 5,000 armor-piercing bullets that pierced the skin of the ship. They shot 5 torpedoes at us with a group of torpedo boats, 3 Israeli torpedo boats. Now, we never did know who was attacking us until the torpedo boats got there. So, shooting 5 torpedoes at us, 1 hitting the starboard side, blowing a 40 by 40 foot hole in this old Victory ship that was, they called them one-wayers in World War II. That was a supply ship, and they converted it to a supply ship. And it hit the torpedoes. The torpedo hit the intelligence gathering stations where Ron was, and flew to bits 25 American sailors, Marines, and national security agency people. Not only that, the torpedo gunman will circle a ship and shoot at anything that moved. Anything that moved. I don't care what it was. And they destroyed all of our life rafts. Everything. They dropped napalm on our ship. And there was only 3 life rafts left aboard that great ship, USS Liberty. Only 3. And as I said before, we were going to put our most seriously wounded in those SIFRAs, try to save their lives. And those 30 SOPs designed in the state of Israel would have none of that. They shot them out of the water. Now, that's a war crime. That's a total war crime. And we have been fighting this and fighting this. Yeah. But our Congress, along with every president since Lyndon Baines Johnson, that's snake in the grass, and along with McNamara and John McCain's daddy, along with Michael Isaac Kidd, went along with the cover-up. And the Board of Inquiry, so-called Board of Inquiry, lasted 7 days when it should have taken at least a year. So the fix was in to sink us to the bottom of the ocean, blame it on the Arabs, especially Egypt, and Israel had taken over the whole Middle East. You know, they claim that their land is from the Euphrates to the Nile. That's all theirs. And they're not giving up on that. They're not giving up on that. They will continue.
Their plan has it. They plan on taking a lot more land, and that was the original Zionists. I mean, going back to Thomas Herzl. I mean, and the funny thing about these original Zionists is that they didn't even were practicing Jews. They were just Jewish by ethnicity. So it was purely by their blood, similar to how Nazism worked, believed that all this land was theirs, and it was these atheist Jews pretty much made up the Balfour Declaration back in 1917, and the plan was to eventually one day take a lot of Syria, Iraq, I believe even part of Saudi Arabia and even part of Iran, and all the way back to Egypt. So it was a lot bigger plan that they had set up, and they definitely wanted to take a lot of Egypt. I mean, at that time, Egypt even had Gaza, which, you know, now they consider pretty valuable. They hold on to that pretty tightly, that little strip of land where 2 million people live. Well, they've concentrated 2 million in there so they can bomb the crap out of them, and then they take out tens of thousands. You know, the Israelis, that's all they care about. There's land grabs. They care about resources. They care about money. And, of course, one thing is that people should realize that the top rabbis that all, you know, are in the religious centers around the Israeli government are very extremist, these Zionist rabbis, and they believe that anybody who's not Jewish is not even human. They call them goyim, and they say these are pretty much they call them subhuman, they call them cattle. They believe that the people, the Americans that they have been able to influence are just there to serve them. And it's not even anti-Jewish to say so, because it's all right there. It's all all their quotes. You can see it right there where they talk about that they believe we're just like, they've said before, like, oh yeah, when a goyim dies, it's like your donkey dying. It's sad because they were supposed to serve you. That's what they believe about Americans. That's what they believe about anybody who's not Jewish.
Well, a very good point. And since you went back in history, let's just go back, and not go back a whole lot further than this, Chris. But let's just go back to the Civil War. Rothschilds were financing not only the South, but the North. And all they cared about was making money. And they could care less who won the war, but what they cared about was that each goyim that was killed was one more person they don't have to fool with. Go back to World War I. Same thing. The Rothschilds financed both sides. Go back to World War II. And look at World War II. The deception, the lies, the people that were involved with the bombing and destruction, but the horrible death in Pearl Harbor, that was a plus for Israel because they wanted the United States of America in a war against Germany, which Roosevelt at the time said we would not ever get into another war. But he was lying through his teeth. He knew exactly what was going to happen. And he allowed the Japanese to do what they did to those poor souls in Hawaii, in Pearl Harbor. And it is disgraceful. It's un-American. But that is where our hand is right now. Our hands are tied behind us because all of our politicians, including the ones that are running for president right now, all of them are in the hip pocket of the Zionist state of Israel. And ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, and anybody else that supports Israel. You don't say a bad word about Israel, or you will not be elected. Now, I have to tell you, I've been threatened by these thugs since I got out of the military, started telling the truth, and I'll probably continue to be threatened. But I want to tell you one thing: if I get killed in a car wreck, it certainly was a car wreck. I was murdered by the Zionist state of Israel, and you can take that to the bank. And anybody that thinks any difference, they're not thinking with a clear mind, and they will do that to anybody. Anybody that gets in their way. Look at Hillary Clinton right now. She's in a lot of trouble, but she's kissing the Zionist butts to along with the Republicans to be the next president of the United States. Now, I will say this: Donald Trump, he's also a supporter of Israel, but I don't know how far he is. But as far as I am concerned, he would be my first choice as being president, as the rest of them down the line are, because I think Donald Trump hopefully will learn a little bit to be his own man. But we'll see how that goes, and we'll see how the election goes. But Chris, this country is under siege, and they want to take our guns, they want to take our rights, they want to take our freedom of speech. And pretty soon they're going to shut down the internet. Believe me, that's coming.
Well, it's funny you said the last time, because I was about to say that Donald Trump's actual support for Israel goes pretty far, because he's made quite a few pro-Israeli comments. He talks about how he support in an interview. He was talking about how he supported of Israel even during the Intifada, where there was a Palestinian uprising. He said they've always been supportive of the Israelis. He, talks about, he thinks that Obama is actually too weak of an Israel supporter, and he said they're going to go meet with the great man Netanyahu, and then Netanyahu didn't even want to meet with him because he knows that would make him look a little ridiculous. So so Trump or Trump cancel, one of the two. There were two conflicting stories. But Trump was supposed to meet with Netanyahu. He considers Netanyahu a decent human being and something like that. He's one of Trump's one-liners that he has to say about it. He has weird adjectives that he sends out. Trump is the same as all the other ones when it comes to stance of Israel. Maybe worse, because he says that he'll bomb Iran. He's pretty much hinting at it. He seems to be he talks about that we have to stand up for our buddy Saudi Arabia, which there's another one right there. But Saudi Arabia and Israel, really, they're two peas in a pod. I mean, there's Saudi Arabia and Israel constantly are trading between each other. Saudi Arabia actually has islands have been taken from them by Israel, but they don't care because of how close the relationship was. But Trump has the same stance that all the other people have on the Middle East. All of them are bought out by Israel, in my opinion. The election is rigged. I've come to terms with that. There is nothing you can do being an election in the United States, because even if there are somebody real like there was with Ron Paul, I would say that he might have been real, or because he really does call out Israel. I mean, you should have to see some of the stuff that Israeli sources have to say about Ron Paul. They call him a Nazi. They call him, just an all-out Jew hater, that kind of stuff. Klansman, bigoted Southerner, that kind of stuff. Ron Paul, I think he was legit. And before that, Mike Gravel was kind of on that line. But this time, I don't see anybody down that field of candidates. I mean, O'Malley, Clinton, Sanders, which is funny that Sanders, not any that support him, but it seems to be the most lukewarm Israel supporter, despite actually being the actual Jewish person, which I'll put my point here there is that this, I've actually seen, all throughout the internet, Jewish people that are not supportive of Israel and call out Israel's crime. I'm not anti-Jewish at all. I know you aren't. And USS Liberty survivors differentiate between Jewish and Israeli. In fact, there's recently a Jewish high schooler up in New Jersey is now possibly going to get legal charges against her because she called out Israel on Twitter. I mean, this is how far the Zionists can go, where even a high schooler will get punished by a school or even by the local courts if they call out Israel.
Hey, Bress, you hit the nail on the head. Certainly, the USS Liberty Veterans Association is not anti-Israel. What we are is pro-truth. And when I see an American citizen, or anybody else for that matter, be murdered by somebody, and then I report it to the FBI, the CIA, my local authorities, and nobody follows up on the murders that I witnessed by these criminals, and nobody cares. So look at what's going on in the occupied territories, as I alluded to earlier. All these little kids being killed. And listen, there's very few men left in the Palestine areas, the Gaza and the West Bank, because they killed them all, or disabled them, and that's their land. It's somebody else's land but theirs. And when the USS Liberty got attacked in 1967, the UN demanded that Israel go back to its 1967 borders in Resolution 242, and Israel basically said, kiss her ass. We're going to do what we want to. Now listen, yeah, they could do that. You know why? They got hundreds and hundreds of nuclear weapons. They would use against America. The Samson, I'm sure you've heard about that or read about it. You think they would use nuclear weapons against the United States of America? Well, if you think that, I'm not going to be personally a fool, but the people that decide to put their gold and their treasure in the Zionist state are sadly mistaken. These people are worse than whatever happened in World War II. Hey, listen, we got 1.5 million people in an open-air concentration camp that the United States of America is supporting. Now, is that where you want your tax dollars to go? For the suffering young children and men and women and the people that are put in jail, beat daily, tortured, for nothing more than speaking out the truth. That's not my America. That's not the America I grew up in. And that's not the America that we should support. The Zionist state of Israel for being war criminals. And they are war criminals. They're war criminals for murdering Americans on the high seas and they're war criminals for what they're doing to the Palestinians, to whoever else they want to do it. So, that's my thought. And I'm very disappointed that Ron Kugel wasn't able to get into the radio show, but hopefully he can. Is your line still open?
Yeah, line's still open. So if Ernie Gallup call in, which I know he said he was going to come in the second hour, he should be able to. Vincent, just to do a check, Vincent, are you still on the line over there taking calls? Hey,
Yeah,
Vincent.
hey, Chris.
Maybe.
Sorry. I was away from the mic.
Yeah.
As soon as he calls in, I'll add him up.
Yeah, Ernie should be calling in any minute now. He said he would in the second hour, so yeah, we were talking about.
I doubt Ernie will be calling right now. So if he doesn't call in now, he might. I'm going to have a call put in to Ron Kugel to call the number that you gave us. Okay.
Well,
and I'm going to do that right now.
Well, I told you, Ron private messaged me, so yeah, maybe you could convince him. He kind of told me that I wasn't a good time, but yeah, maybe since he knows that the good buddy's on the air, he might want to at least put in 10, 15 minutes into the show. I wanted to say is, our tax. Look how much of our tax dollars are going to Israel every day. We have $8 million? No, it's $15 million a day now, I think, is going to Israel. While we have cities crumbling.
They're getting $11 million per day, every day, 7 days a week.
Yeah,
Think
$11
about
million.
that.
It's an absolutely ridiculous number. It's $77 million a year or a week, and a year that's something like $3 to $5 billion. I think it's $4 billion. It adds up to be in a year, which means that that's $4 billion not being spent on our crumbling infrastructure. That's $4 billion not being spent on our education system while we have people going through a horrible education system. We have cities crumbling. We have Detroit in shambles. We have Chicago, falling apart. But yet we send all this money to a thriving country in the Middle East. Tel Aviv is one of the most modern cities in the Middle East with our dollars. While they use that money for more fighter jets to bomb Gaza, the West Bank, which West Bank doesn't even exist anymore practically, because now it's little specks on the map here and there, and the settlers are taking all of it. It's horrible what the settler situation, what you can do. If you are just a quarter Jewish, you can pretty much call up Israel, say, hey, I'm going to go settle this land, which means I'm going to go steal this house. Well, they steal the land usually. They come over there, the Israelis go and bulldoze these houses down. The settlers come in with machine guns and force the Palestinians out by force, sometimes killing them, or the IDF will kill them, and then they build their luxury house on top of it, and they live on luxury, what used to be a Palestinian family's home, while they are homeless or dead because of the settling. Israel has just been a history of war crimes. It's been a history of 48 was a giant war crime when Al-Nakba happened. 67 when they bombed hospitals. They did the USS Liberty. 67 was a tumultuous year for the Middle East because of Israel's just absolute carelessness, recklessness of what they were doing. Well, it was not recklessness because they planned it out that way. It was intentional murder they were committing all throughout the area, and it continued. 2014, we had a horrible year where thousands of Palestinians were killed. This is a tragic fact right here. I just want to send this to ram it home how horrible what happened in 2014 was, that they had killed so many children in Palestine that they were storing bodies in ice cream freezers at stores. It's absolutely it's one of the most horrific war crimes in history that's being committed. This is a Holocaust, no other word for it, against the Palestinians, and nobody can rise up against Israel because they're afraid of that nuclear deterrent. that Israel's had ever since LBJ co-conspired with Israel to build the nuclear weapons. JFK wanted it to stop them. JFK was going to send monitors to the Al-Duma or whatever the name of that nuclear facility, but we all know what happened to JFK. His head was blown off on national television. And there were a few other reasons for that. It was the Federal Reserve. You talk about the Rothschilds. They were about to lose the control of the United States currency because of the silver certificates JFK was putting out, and that's another reason why he was killed. But very few people really have the balls now in the Middle East to really stand up to Israel because, again, they don't have any limits. Israel will do whatever it takes in order to keep their land or keep their mission. They've occupied the Golan Heights, and now they have a big stake in Syria. They're bombing Damascus every now and then without any warrant to be there, and bomb in favor of terrorists in Syria, in favor of that shows Israel's true role of in Syria and Iraq was terrorism. They're not anti-terror; they're pro-terror. They're funding terrorism along with the United States government. How do you think ISIS? Where do you think ISIS runs back to? Was the Israel border right there? They go back to Israel when they're being chased out by the Syrian army. That's where they run to, and of course Turkey to the north. It is a very odd collaboration, but Israel and the fake Islamists, these people are Wahhabis, which actually were made, it's a little history, to counter Islam. These Wahhabis and Israel collaborate with each other to stabilize and colonize the Middle East. And now they've almost gotten their way in Syria, but Assad's standing tough. And the people of Syria that Assad represents is standing tough. And
well, Chris, I listened to what you're saying, and you can get back to when Woodrow Wilson was the president, and he got the Federal Reserve and turned it upside down as far as the money goes and everything. He turned it over to the Rothschilds, and that's basically what our country has become. Controlled by not just Jews, but the Zionists that want to take over the world. They hate us, as you said earlier. We're nothing but dogs, cattle, pieces of shit, nothing worth anybody. And you know what? There's some Jews in this country that might feel different. But listen, I want those Jewish people to stand up for America rather than stand up to the Zionist state of Israel for what they're doing to innocent people trying to live in their own property, their own land. I mean, look at it, Chris. They're being driven into the ocean, and how much longer can you take it? You can't take it this long. And you take the people who support the Palestinians. How much longer are you going to take it? I don't want to see any more wars for Israel. None. And I don't want any more bloodshed. All the bloodshed in these wars that we've given our country the kudos for in Iraq and Afghanistan, and Syria, all the men that were killed and men and women, and think about all the wounded. There's thousands and thousands of them that are disabled for life. And for what? And for what? Iraq's gone. Syria's gone. they're not going to mess with Iran. We already made a deal with Iran. And then you have Obama being discredited for getting information from the National Security Agency about his talks with the Zionist supporters. Well, you know, good for him. They should know what they're saying about Israel and trying to knock down this deal with Iran. Listen, I don't want to fight Iran. I don't want to war with Iran. And no other American should either. I don't want another war with Iraq. Should we send our servicemen to war for the sake of Israel? Hey, listen, Israel's got nuclear bombs. They've got a big army. They have great airplanes we gave them. They've got great ships. They've got great submarines. If they want to go fight these people, let them fight. But keep us out of it. You know,
well,
go fight your own war.
See, that's the thing, is that their mentality doesn't allow that, because, like I said, is that if they went to war, then some of them are going to die, and then that's going to be humans dying in their minds instead of us, the cattle, going in and dying. That's how they see it. That's how the Zionist extremist rabbis that are very close to the Israeli government see things. So it's and all this other stuff that's happening with Iran. I think that ultimately people think that Obama, had actually differed from the Israeli plan on Iran. I think this is actually the plan all along, because remember, Saddam, they did the same thing to him in 2002. They said, hey, we're going to make a deal with you. We're going to have peace for a while. And then 2003, they go in there. They do this. They trick them. They get them to a false sense of security. And then afterwards, they bomb their country. I was surprised it just happens. And I think Iran's going to be ugly. I really hope it doesn't happen, but all indicators right now are saying that it's inevitable because of the United States meddling in Syria. They're already practically in Syria at this point, and Syria is Iran's closest ally. And what do they have in common? They're both anti-Zionist countries, and they both don't have a national bank at this point.
Yeah.
That's really all that's about at this point. It's...
Oh, listen. You make a good point. Yeah, they're anti-Zionist, but as far as that's going to go with us, the people that I talk to on a daily basis, the people that have grit and care about this country, are seriously worried about where we're headed, and they should be. Now, to be controlled as we are, we're controlled by the Zionist state of Israel. And if that in Congress, including every president, sets Woodrow Wilson on, have supported the Zionist regime. And look how big it's gotten. They have some of the best weaponry in the world, and they don't need America to protect them. As I said before, if they want to fight somebody, go fight them and spill your blood. Don't spill American blood, because we're tired of spilling American blood, including Vietnam, Korea, World War I, World War II, the war between the states. This was all Zionist created money by the Rothschilds because they want to control, and they got it. And follow the money. That's what you got to do, is follow the money. And who's got all the money? And you know who's got all the money.
Yeah, and the thing is that it's not just even the Americans being meddled with by Israel. They're meddling with a lot. I mean, world affairs all around the world. Let's put some examples for down in South America right now. A lot of things have changed in the last 20 years. I'm half Colombian. I have some connection to back to Colombia. Spent some time there, and then I have almost most of my family there. You know, in South America right now, a lot of the countries that went anti-Israel put, you know, pretty strict anti-Israel laws in place, and I'm actually, you know, it's almost like a continent-wide boycott that's going on. Well, what's been going on because of that? Well, we have Saudi presence all throughout the Caribbean, all throughout South America. They don't have, despite being this little tiny country of what, 30 kilometers deep or something like that. I mean, it's the size of Connecticut. They have people everywhere, you know, because ultimately they're the Rothschilds' baby. The Rothschilds made Israel directly, almost as their headquarters. Is pretty much what Tel Aviv is. You know what boulevard is the Israeli Supreme Court is on? Rothschild Boulevard. Who was the architect of the Knesset? Rothschild. So it's no surprise that Israel pretty much acts as one of the main, pretty much acts as the headquarters of the Rothschilds. And the United States is the main enforcer of their potential new world order that they're trying to achieve. So with these countries in South America, I don't know how conspiratorial you are, but, you know, I'm not making that big of a stretch, I don't think. But there's, in the 70s, in the 80s, in the 90s, the CIA and the KGB, and since they had the weapon, I know the Mossad definitely did, they had cancer weapons that could give you a disease very much like cancer with a pathogen that they shoot at you, pretty much a start gun. Kind of like I know it sounds very out there, but this is true documented stuff. Similar to the heart attack gun, they also had this thing invented by the CIA. All these leaders down South America, they were anti-Israel, all got cancer at the same time, like 9 of them. There was Lugo, Chavez, Kirchner, all these. 2 of them died, including the most influential one of them all, Chavez. So he was probably one of the most. He was consistently pro-Palestinian. The Palestinian people love him over there because of his stances, and he actually did stuff to help out the Palestinians. I'm pretty sure he gave humanitarian aid, and he pretty much started the whole boycotting of Israel and South America. And he also had very good connections with Iran, probably Israel's biggest enemy in the Middle East. But anyways, all these people, 2 of them die, 1 was removed from power, and they fund all their enemies on the streets. And they fund these goons that go around popping people in the streets of Caracas and these other capitals, and they call them these pro-democracy guys. They're ultimately just CIA and also pro-Mossad agents. And I mean, Chavez called that out and warned everybody well before his death that that was the case. What I'm saying is that it doesn't matter. Israel will go to very extreme lengths to make sure their agenda is achieved. They did so with Gaddafi. They did so with Chavez. And the United States, they already have us pretty much wrapped up. But I'm saying, well, the main guy they had to take out for us is JFK. I think JFK was the one exception since Woodrow Wilson to have been said all these people were pro-Israel to Woodrow Wilson. Yeah, that's true. JFK, he was the only one. It was pretty well documented that he wasn't pro-Israel. And they didn't want to become nuclear, sure, because we know once that would happen, there will be no peace in the Middle East. How do you stop a country that has nuclear weapons and is crazy enough to use them? I don't think Korea is that crazy as Israel is. They're much more likely to push the button.
Well, Chris, I've listened to you, and I agree with you on a lot of what you're saying. A lot of it is it's history. You know, it's written down. It's there. If you think for 1 second that Israel is going to go down without destroying not just one nation, it's the whole world, and we know that by the Samson option. If they don't live, nobody lives. So that would, I guess you would call that the end of the world. And that is the end of the world is as close now as I've ever seen. And with what's going on, and of course we have North Korea and all these other people, but the most dangerous, the most dangerous, vile snake in this world are the Israelis. Now, I'm not going to say that all Jews are bad, and I don't need to say that because I don't believe it. All I'm saying is their leadership and what they're doing to innocent children, men, women, children in Palestine is more horrific than the Holocaust. And of course, the Jews always go back to the Holocaust. And in fact, on TV, you see all the time this Rabbi Eckstein paying for $25 for food boxes for people that are starving in Israel. Now, what I can't figure out is we're tipping them $11 million a day. $11 million a day. How could there be anybody in Israel starving to death? Not unless Israel is starving them itself, or is this a crybaby alibi to the Christian Americans in America? And they're already bought and paid for, as our congressmen and senators and our presidents and the janitors and the dog catchers. They're all bought and paid for by the Zionist State of Israel. That's just a fact. That's just not me saying it, but everybody knows it. Everybody with a half a brain knows it. So where do you go from there? And I would love to see Israel to say, hey, man, what we're going to do is we're going to have a two-state solution, and we're going to take care of these people, and we're also going to take care of ourselves militarily and economically. So what's wrong with doing that with the Palestinians on their stolen land, the land that they own? So, I just want to see. I just don't want to see this country go down in flames because of Israel doesn't like what's going on in the world, and the United States of America gave that power. Now, I guess we're going to reap what we sow, and it's been seen in Afghanistan. It's been seen in Iraq, and you tell the men and women that have been brutally hurt, supposedly fighting for America, when really they're fighting for the Zionist State of Israel, and that's just the way it is. And I believe that, and 99% of the people I talk to believe it too. So I don't know your thoughts on it, but I'm sure they'll probably float your mind.
Well, yeah, when you talk about the United States, I mean, there's nothing that can be done when it comes to election-wise, politically, at this point, to overhaul the United States all-out ownership by the Rothschilds and the AIPAC control over all of Congress. Really, at this point, it's going to take the American people standing up. It's going to take a revolution, nothing short of. There's nothing that can be done via peacefully at this point, really. As you see that every single one, all these freshmen Congress, when they come up, they're taken to Israel and pretty much read the Riot Act that if you stand up to Israel, your time in Congress will be done. It's a big club and you ain't in it. That's what George Carlin always said. And
well, of course, it's a co-op. It's the co-op for Israel. But you know, when they go to these co-ops, they go on buses that are
controlled by the Zionists. They see what they wanted to see, and then they go home and say, wow, this is such a peaceful, wonderful place here. But go on the other side of the wall. Go on the other side of the wall when you got people urinating in their underwear, urinating in terrible places. And then you've got the settlers throwing dirty diapers into the wells, destroying their only access to clean water. This is not something I bring up. This is the truth. And concentration camp, are you kidding me? This is a terrible concentration camp. The beatings, the jail time, it goes on and on and on. And, they blame it all on the Palestinians. Well, there were 21 Jewish people, so-called, killed in Israel the last month or 2 months, and so far about 140 Palestinians. And these aren't people that are carrying guns. These are children. They're old women. And they're old men. Now, what threat do they have against men armed with automatic weapons? It is unbelievable. And we fought those automatic weapons. The United States government fought those automatic weapons for them. And I'm ashamed of that. Believe me, I'm ashamed of that. And I don't believe in it.
Yes, the media is absolutely horrific how they cover any, all Western media, BBC, even Al Jazeera soft. Even though they claim to be anti-Israel, they're not really, because they were from Qatar, one of Israel's more covert allies. Okay, but of course the big three are just so biased when it comes to anything Israeli related. They don't have any Palestinian leaders of any kind talking on there. It's always Israeli people that have about 6 things to say. And I think they literally have a guidebook somewhere which shows how to detract blame from Israel when you're being questioned by the media, which they always never go hard on them like they do, like when they're questioning somebody. A Middle Eastern leader, they have a whole different tone. Anderson Cooper or whatever, that Wolf Blitzer guy. They'll literally, I've literally seen it in the scroll of BBC before. Israeli soldier twists ankle, but they won't talk about how literally at that same day 200 people were killed in a university after they were literally just in there one moment reading their books, having sitting in a lecture, and the next moment they're all dead because Israel just dropped a big bomb on the university. They actually bombed their main university in Palestine. These young kids all are under the age of 25, all dead in an instant. Look, it's very similar to what was going on in the Holocaust, and worse, I would say, in many regards, because Holocaust survivors, a lot of them have called out Israel, but nobody pays attention to that. This is worse. I think this is worse than the Holocaust in a few regards. It's because
it's been going on ever since the USS Liberty got attacked, and before. I guess advertised. Since our ship got attacked and murdered Americans on the high seas and got by with cold premeditated murder. How I survived it, or how any crew member survived it, is in God's hands, and God did that. But what I want to ask you, Chris, is how did you get involved, and why did you get involved in such a subject? You sound like a young man. I don't know how old you are, But what made you? What opened your eyes? What made you become a believer?
I'll tell you my age right now, and I'm turning 18 in 4 weeks. So yes, I'm pretty young to be on the radio, but I woke up at a very early age. I would say I was about 11. I was 11 years old when I looked into the 9/11 truth, and then that was the first thing that really woke me up to that. But the Israel-Palestine thing, I have to credit RT on that because they were the first ones that really opened my eyes to what I saw. It's like, I didn't know what Palestinians really were before that. And then I started looking into that, and I saw, all these horrors and atrocities that they're doing. It was worse than an open-air prison they were making them live in, because a prison gives you food, water, hell, even smokes. They get shit. And all their water is poison. They don't have any food. Their supermarket's been bombed. But what the U.S. Liberty, I didn't find out. I found out researching just about Israel in general and the other topics that I've researched. I found out about that, and I found it very odd. And then I looked into it. And I couldn't believe the attack and what was actually being tried to be accomplished was more alarming. Is that they were trying to, after they were going to justify the nuclear destruction, possibly a nuclear bombing of Cairo and a lot of Egypt, and that they were potentially applying a World War III right after that. My friend Ricard actually was mutual friends with you guys. A few of you guys, and I was like, that would be pretty cool to talk to them and actually bring that out to the light on my radio show, my audience, some young people my age from high school that I went to listen to the show, and maybe they'll be able to really wake up to what really Israel is, because, of course, it's this young generation. They're completely oblivious about practically everything, but especially Israel, of course. They don't know the half of it, about how these horrible crimes that have been committed by Israel. And, I've been called racist. I've been called a Nazi and that kind of stuff on, People seem to lie stuff about me, but I think when I finally will come out of you a survivor, it really brings it home and hear the emotion, hear the actual story. I mean, how you, just by the grace of God, it sounds like, avoided death at the hands of the Zionists, and avoided you being one more statistic, another murder at the hands of Israel.
Chris, you're a very young man, and you have to understand that we're all getting older. See, when this attack happened to me, I was 20 years old, and I'm coming on 70 pretty quick. So the years go by quick, and to have a young man to understand and try to educate other people that this could happen to them. And you have to remember, Chris, no matter what, is that you tell your listening audience, you tell your friends, you tell your mother, father, that when they attacked our ship, they just didn't attack us, they attacked the United States of America. Even though the United States of America was complicit, helping agent trying to murder us all and blame it on a foreign government. That still doesn't take away patriotism. And I love my country. By the grace of God, we were all born in a country, the United States of America, the greatest country in the world, but led by a bunch of idiots because they're beholden to the Zionist state of Israel so they can get reelected. And that's where the younger population has to come into this equation and say, hey, we're not going to take this anymore. We're not stupid. We're not going to let us get blown to bits by Israel, and we're not going to let your family and your future wife and your grandchildren live in a world that is dangerous, where we have no business hanging around with the likes of Israel that's careless about you and your family and mine, and will do anything to keep control of the United States Congress. And they've done one hell of a good job at it for ever since 1967. And I might add, when I was debriefed by Admiral Kidd less than 7 days after our attack, I mean, he's a big-time admiral, ordered by Admiral John McCain to tell us to shut up. Can you believe that? To shut up and not tell the truth. Thank you, John McCain, and thank his daddy too. John McCain, a senator from Arizona. Yeah, he's a traitor to the United States, and his support of A.J. Crystal, who wrote a book, and he's a Jewish bankruptcy judge called The Liberty Institute. He supports the fact that he says, "Oh, it's a mistake." Well, we've got eyewitnesses. So no, and the United States government knows that. We have overthrown the world, and he still sticks to that story. What's wrong with this guy? I mean, come on, think about it. All he cares about is getting reelected. And by the way, he's going to lose this next election. He's getting beat right now, so we'll see when November comes up. But
I mean, that guy's he's pushing 80 right now at this point or whatever. He's been only in for about 35 years or something like that. He's been in since the early 80s, I believe. And John McCain, I mean, there's more than just that even. I mean, he met with al-Baghdadi, the current leader of ISIS, in 2013 when he called him Syrian opposition. So that's another thing just to keep in your hat there. That's about McCain's history. McCain is one of the epitomes of the corruption. It's beyond corruption. What Congress, what the United States government has became. We're in the last 2 minutes of the show here. It's been really great having you on, and I really hope, this show really push across to some of the younger people about just what Israel's special relationship with the United States is, and I really hope that this, because right now I just got out of high school, and now I'm at that. There's a lot of people I know are about to go into college, and college is no longer what it used to be. Now it's we're brainwashing, and nowadays they pretty much regulated to be pro-Israel. But we're in the last minute of the show. Thanks, Phil.
All right. Well, listen, when you go into college, Chris, you're going to a liberal college that's going to support only their thoughts. Use your own good sense and forget about what these professors say. If they don't like it, I'm going to kiss your ass.
Yeah, I'll keep that in mind. By the way, everybody, don't forget about your book, What I Saw That Day. I'm going to try to get a copy for myself now, and we only got a few seconds here before we hit the bumper.
There ain't no return and nobody can stop it. Malcolm Little when he knelt before Elijah Muhammad, the comet that killed the dinosaurs, changing the earth. They love to criticize, they always say I changed for the worse. Like prescription pills when you misusing them, nigga. The Templar Knights when they took Jerusalem, nigga, and figured out what was buried under Solomon's temple, Al-Aqsa. My name is not coincidental. I know too much, the government is trying to murder me. No coming back like cutting your wrists open vertically. How could the serpent be purposely put in charge of the country? Genetic engineered sickness spread amongst me. My people are so hungry that they attack without reason, like a fucking dog ripping off the hand that feeds him. Immortal technique is treason to the Patriot Act. So come and get me, motherfucker, cause I'm not coming back. This is the point from which I can never return, and if I back down